Hey, what's up guys, another video here. So today is your stimulus package update for August 8th. So obviously yesterday was the deadline, August 7th, and Trump is trying to invoke some executive power to see if he can get anything done, but here is the news. Negotiations over the next stimulus package intended to bolster the economy and help struggling Americans pay for their bills have stalled on Capitol Hill, with Democrats and the Trump administration officials walking away after talks broke down on Friday and devolved into partisan finger-pointing. No additional discussions are planned after 2 weeks of daily meetings, as Meadows and Mnuchin said they are recommending Trump to move ahead with a series of executive orders aimed at extending the federal moratorium on evictions, continuing federal unemployment benefits, and suspending the payroll tax. We will recommend the president, based on our lack of activity today, to move forward with some executive orders, Mnuchin stated. The executive orders are expected to meet fierce resistance from Democrats who plan to challenge them in court. Democrats warn that the executive action taken will be insufficient to address the extent of the economic and public health crisis faced by Americans during the illness. The lack of progress Friday followed a familiar pattern for negotiators who, despite roughly 20 hours of meetings, have struggled to agree on the scope of the problem at hand. Now, Democrats and Republicans will have to make their arguments to an American public demanding more relief just 3 months from the election. Quote, "When you're having an opportunity like this to do something for the American people, it's an opportunity, but we can't have it be a missed opportunity to do that by settling for something so low, so beneath meeting the needs of the American people," Pelosi said. Quote, "We're going to take executive orders to try to alleviate some of the pain that people are experiencing," said Meadows. "This is not the perfect answer. We'll be the first one to say that, but it is all that we can do and all the president can do within the confines of his executive power, and we're going to encourage him to do it." Earlier Friday, the Trump administration rejected a Democratic offer to agree to a stimulus price tag of around $2 trillion, with Mnuchin calling it a non-starter. Quote, "I don't know that that's a reduction as much as she is changing the time frames. I don't think she's coming off with her number other than just made a shorter time," Meadows added. Pelosi and Schumer suggested that they would not be open to a number lower than $2 trillion, arguing that such a plan would fail to win over a sufficient number of Democrats in both chambers. Quote, "The House doesn't have the votes to go south of $2 trillion. The Senate Democrats can't go south of $2 trillion, so that's what compromise is all about," Schumer stated. "Because there are 20 Republicans who don't want to vote anything, that doesn't mean the whole thing should shift in their direction. You have to meet in the middle." Meanwhile, Senate GOP leaders didn't think that anything above $2 trillion would pass the Senate. On a private call with GOP senators, Mnuchin and Meadows said that they believed that the Democrats' demand for nearly $1 trillion for state and local government had become the biggest sticking point over the deal. They also argued Democrats have not moved off the positions or proposed things that the GOP would accept. For instance, the officials stated that Democrats were pushing for a permanent student loan forgiveness as part of the deal. Democrats have argued that passing anything less than a large-scale package is a non-starter and have pushed back against the idea of passing anything piecemeal, while Republicans have accused them of holding a progress toward passing a smaller package that would deal with concerns of common ground. As the odds of a deal look increasingly slim, finger-pointing has intensified on both sides. Quote, "My frustration is that we could have passed a very skinny deal that dealt with some of the most pressing issues," Meadows stated. Schumer was critical of Meadows on Friday, calling him non-compromising. Quote, "His positions are quite hardened and non-compromising, more so than Mnuchin," Schumer said of Meadows when asked if White House Chief of Staff is negotiating in good faith. Okay, so we don't know the extent of what Trump will do, but if he can get the stimulus checks passed, so $200 per person, then I guess that's a good thing, but I doubt he has that type of executive power. Again, we won't find out until the coming week to see what exactly he's going to do. As stated in the article, he can extend the federal moratorium on evictions, he can cut the payroll tax, possibly, and he can extend the federal unemployment benefits. So let's see if he actually does those things. But if we're just going by the news, then he cannot issue the stimulus checks because, again, that's going to be a large financial package, and that may not be to the extent of what he can do as far as an executive order goes from the president. So let's see what happens, but unfortunately, both parties, the House Democrats and the Senate Republicans, they're not going to meet at the $2 trillion mark. So obviously the Republicans want something south of $2 trillion, and the Democrats, they are going from $3.4 trillion to $2 trillion, but again, they have not met. Again, McConnell claims that he will not do a recess in the Senate, but again, who knows how true that is, and let's see what happens. But because the deadline already passed, we have to look forward to early September, and again, that's when they're going to be back in session, and let's see if they get something hammered then. They may relent on both sides on exactly 2 trillion, and let's see what happens. But the Republicans don't want to extend all the state and local benefit because the state and local benefit from the CARES package hasn't fully been utilized. So let's see what happens. But the Republicans probably not going to budge on that, but let's see what happens. And again, don't be too hopeful on the stimulus check for late August. Obviously, that is past the window, so just expect it hopefully around late September. So hopefully, guys, this is a little update on the situation. Please like and subscribe if you did like the video, and if you are interested in my book, please check out the Amazon link down below. It explains how I at 35 became a multimillionaire by only working salary jobs that range from the income of 40K to 81.5K from the ages of 22 to 35. So it also talks about expenses, income, and more importantly, investing. So that's it, guys, and stay tuned for the next video.